Okay. This is take 3 of this reading. Hopefully it happens because I'm outside and for some reason, which we never get over here, there's a helicopter circling, I don't know, a couple neighborhoods away. I don't know, maybe a mile away, but he's making a lot of noise. And anyways, I got to talk to a lot of you today. And if I didn't get to talk to you, I left a message or tried to leave a message. And I was so happy to get to talk to you guys because I really miss you. I miss hearing your voices and seeing your faces and you making me laugh or drive me crazy. So I miss all of that. But we're in my backyard again today, and I'm under my gazebo. We put this in about 2 years ago, and if you can see, it's my little sanctuary where I like to come sit and just enjoy the outside. And Mocha tends to sit with me, so maybe she'll come up and sit with me and listen to me read to you guys. So I'm going to go back and continue where we left off on onions. And I forgot to say in the other videos, so I'm going to say it now. This is my permission to read this from Scholastic Publishing. So in the other videos, I forgot to put that, but I just want you to know that this is because Scholastic has let me decide to, or gave me permission to read it. And on a side note, it's happening. You know how I adore my nails. The struggle is real, people. So, anyways, I miss you, and I was happy to talk to you, and let's get into reading. And Mocha's gonna listen too. She's protecting me from the helicopter. Make sure no bad people get over here. So she's wants to hear the story too. Look. She's ready. Okay, here we go. First, Isabel took Esperanza to the platform. Oh, you're enjoying this? Sorry. First, Isabel took Esperanza to the platform. She was to sweep and showed her where the brooms were stored. When they walked through the rows of cabins, each with a baby on her hip, as they passed open doors, Esperanza could already smell the beans and onions that someone had started simmering for dinner. Women were dragging big metal wash tubs beneath the shade trees. A group of young boys kicked a ball up and down the dirt road, stirring up dust. A little girl wearing a man's undershirt as a dress ran up to Isabel and took her hand. "This is Sylvia. She is my best friend. Next week, we will go to school together." Sylvia switched around and grabbed Esperanza's free hand. Esperanza looked down at Sylvia's dirty hand. Sylvia grinned up at her, and Esperanza's first thought was to pull her hand away and wash it as soon as possible. Then she remembered Mama's kindness to the peasant girl on the train, and her disappointment in Esperanza. She didn't want Sylvia to start crying if she was to pull away. She looked around at the dusty camp and thought, it must be hard to stay clean in such a place. She squeezed Sylvia's hand and said, "I have a best friend too. Her name is Marisol, and she lives in Aguas Calientes." Isabel introduced Esperanza to Irene and Melina, 2 women who were hanging clothes to dry on a long line stretched between the cabins and a tree. Irene had long gray hair tied in a tail. I guess that means like a ponytail. Melina didn't look much older than Miguel, and she already had a baby of her own. "We heard the story of how you came from Aguas Calientes," said Melina. "My husband is from there. He used to work for Senor Rodriguez." Esperanza's face lit up at this news. "He knew my father since he was a boy. Do you think your husband knew Marisol, Senor Rodriguez's daughter? Melina laughed. No, no, I'm sure he didn't. He was un campesino, a field servant. He would not know the family. Esperanza felt awkward and didn't mean to make Melina admit that her husband was a servant. So they didn't interact. So they wouldn't have known each other because you're either wealthy and you're being served or you're a servant. So that's kind of how it went. And so, she's like, oh, maybe they knew each other. No. Esperanza felt awkward and didn't mean to make Melina admit that her husband was a servant, but Melina didn't seem bothered and began recalling other farms her husband had worked on in Aguascalientes. Isabel pulled on Esperanza's arm. We need to change the babies. As they walked back to the cabin, she said, they are mother and daughter. They come over to talk and crochet with my mother all the time. How do they know all about us already? Isabel raised her hand and made her fingers tap up and down on her thumb as if a mouth was talking. Everyone in camp knows each other's business. Do you know how to change a diaper? Asked Esperanza when they got back to the cabin. Certainly, said Isabel. I will change them and you can rinse out the diapers. We need to do some laundry too. Esperanza watched as the young girl laid the babies down one at a time, unpinned their diapers, wiped their bottoms clean, and pinned on fresh diapers. Isabel handed Esperanza the smelly bundles and said, take them to the toilets and dump them, and I'll fill the wash tub. Esperanza held them at arm's length and almost ran to the toilets. Several more onion trucks passed by, their smell accosting her eyes and nose as much as the diapers. By the time she got back, Isabel had already filled 2 wash tubs with water from the outside pipes and was swirling soap around in one of them. A washboard was propped inside. So a couple things here. One, a washboard looks like a old time like grater, but it has like ripples, and that's how they would scrub and wash the clothes. And then they would hang them to dry. There are no dryers, there's no wash machines. And so this is probably all new for her, just doing these chores. And she's never changed a diaper before. And back then they didn't have disposable diapers. So actually when I know I'm pretty old, but when I was a baby, there were no disposable diapers. So there were like diaper services and stuff, and you used cloth diapers with baby pins, and there were services, or you would wash them yourself, but you didn't throw them away. They were cloth, and you were to reuse them after they were washed. So you did what you needed to do. And so she's getting a whole lot of lessons and experience here, day 1 of camp. So let's see what happens. Esperanza went to the wash tub and hesitated, staring into the water. Bits of onion skins floated on the surface of the soapy water. She held a corner of one of the diapers, lightly dipping it in and out of the water, her hand never getting wet. After a few seconds, she gingerly lifted the diaper from the water. Now what? She said. Esperanza, you must scrub them like this. Isabel walked over, took the diapers, and plunged them into the water up to her elbows. The water quickly became murky. She rubbed the diapers with soap, vigorously scrubbing them back and forth on the washboard, and wrung them out. Then she transferred them to the next tub, rinsing and wringing again. Isabel shook out the clean diapers and hung them on the line stretched between the cranberry and mulberry trees. Then she started on the clothes. Esperanza was amazed. She had never washed anything in her life, and Isabel, who was only 8 years old, made it look so easy. puzzled, Isabel looked at Esperanza. Don't you know how to wash clothes? Well, Hortensia took everything out in the laundry quarters, and the servants, they always... She looked at Isabel and shook her head. No. Isabel's eyes got bigger, and she looked worried. Esperanza, when I go to school next week, you will be here alone with the babies, and you will have to do the laundry. Esperanza took a deep breath and said weakly, I can learn. And later today you must sweep the platform. You do not know how to sweep. Of course, said Esperanza. She had seen people sweep many times, many times, she assured herself. Besides, she was already too embarrassed about the washing to admit anything else to Isabel. She don't know how to sweep, but sure I do. Not, oh, I've seen people do it. She has no idea. Isabel sat with the babies while Esperanza went to sweep the platform. The camp was quiet, and even though it was late in the day, the sun was unrelenting. She retrieved the broom to sweep onto the wooden floor. Dried and brittle onion skins were everywhere because in the trucks, I showed you this, the skin, the brown part. So it's very, very thin, and so it's flying out. So these onion skins are all over the place. So she has to sweep them, plus they were in the wash bin and all of that. So they're everywhere from the trucks being loaded. In her entire life, Esperanza had never held a broom in her hand. She had seen Hortensia sweep, and she tried to visualize the memory. It couldn't possibly be that hard. She put both hands near the middle of the broomstick and moved it back and forth. It swung wildly. So I'm sure you guys have swept before. You don't put your hands in the middle. You put it at the top. So of course it's going to go all over the place. The motion seemed awkward, and the fine dirt on the wooden planks lifted into a cloud. Onion jackets flew into the air instead of gathering together in a neat pile like Hortensia's. Esperanza's elbows did not know what to do. Neither did her arms. She felt streams of perspiration sliding down her neck. She stopped for a moment and stared at the broom, as if willing it to behave. Determined, she tried again. She hadn't noticed that several trucks were already unloading workers nearby. Then she heard it. First a small teetering, and then louder. She turned around. A group of women were laughing at her. And in the middle of the group was Marta, pointing. La Cincinita. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Cinderella. She laughed. Burning with humiliation, Esperanza dropped the broom and ran back to the cabin. In her room, she sat on the edge of the cot. Her face flushed again at the thought of the ridicule. She was still sitting there staring at the wall when Isabel found her. I said I could work. I told Mama I could help, but I could not even wash clothes or sweep a floor. Does the whole camp know? Isabel sat down on the bed next to her and patted her back. Yes. Esperanza groaned. I will never be able to show my face. She put her head in her hands until she heard someone else come into the room. Esperanza looked up to see Miguel holding a broom and a dustpan, but he wasn't laughing. She looked down and bit her lip so she wouldn't cry in front of him. He shut the door, then stood in front of her and said, How would you know how to sweep a floor? The only thing that you ever learned was how to give orders. That is not your fault, Anza. Look at me. She looked up. Pay attention, he said, his face serious. You hold the broom like this. One hand here and the other here. Esperanza watched. Okay, good. The helicopter's gone. Then you push like this, or pull it toward you like this. Here, you try, he said, holding out the broom. Slowly, Esperanza got up and took the broom from him. He positioned her hands on the handle. She tried to copy him, but her movements were too big. Smaller strokes, said Miguel, coaching and sweep in all one direction. She did as he said. Now when you get all the dirt into a pile, you hold the broom down here, near the bottom, and push the dirt into the pan. Esperanza collected the dirt. See, you can do it. Miguel raised his thick eyebrows and smiled. Someday, you just might make a very good servant. Isabel giggled. Esperanza could not yet find humor in the situation. Somberly, she said, Thank you, Miguel. He grinned and bowed. At your service. Riena. But this time his voice was kind. She remembered that he had gone to look for work at the railroad. Did you get a job? His smile faded. He put his hands in his pockets and shrugged his shoulders. It is frustrating. I can fix any engine, but they will only hire Mexicans to lay tracks and dig ditches, not as mechanics. I've decided to work in the fields until I can convince someone to give me a chance. Esperanza nodded. After he left the room, Isabel said, He calls you mi Rena. Will you tell me about your life as a queen? I guess that means queen. Esperanza sat on the mattress and patted the spot next to her. Isabel sat down. Isabel, I will tell you all about how I used to live, about parties and private school and beautiful dresses. I will even show you the beautiful doll my papa bought me. If you will teach me how to pin diapers, how to wash, and... Isabel interrupted her. But that is so easy. Esperanza stood up and carefully practiced with the broom. It is not easy for me. So, they're going to learn about each other's lives. One's going to learn how to do chores, and the other one's going to learn or hear stories of what she could only picture of fancy dresses and parties and having servants to work for you. So, yeah, they're going to learn from each other. So the next chapter is almonds. So I don't think I have any almonds, but I have to go to the store to get a few essentials because I haven't been to the store in a couple weeks and we're running low. So I will grab some almonds and show you different almonds. And we can go from there. So I will get on tomorrow and talk to you once again. And hopefully the people I didn't get to talk to on the phone, I will get to talk to you later tonight or tomorrow. And then the next chapter is plums. And I like plums. My first fruit tree was a plum tree that my mom and dad planted for me in our first house in San Jacinto when I was 5. So I really like plums, and that's a very good memory for me because I was so happy that they planted that for me, and I would go out there and watch it grow and watch the fruit, and it was exciting for me. So I hope you guys are all staying safe, happy, healthy. Once again, I miss you. And stay strong. Go out and enjoy the sunshine. You don't need to be around people, but get exercise. I told you guys those virtual can't even think, field trips. Do those. Learn things. I talked to you guys today about cursive and math. If the math is hard, the workbooks that you have, go on Prodigy, go on Zern, go on Cool Math, find some math games to do. Keep your mind busy. Um, do a puzzle, draw a picture, do artwork and send it to me on Blooms. I would love to see it. I would love to see what you guys are doing. If you're doing a garden, if you're doing, something, uh, let me see. So, I enjoy hearing or seeing about your guys' days. Um, I'm here and I'm cooped up just like you, and we'll all get through it, one day at a time. So stay busy. Keep your keep your mind busy. Keep your body busy. Do jumping jacks or whatever you need to do. Um, walk to the mailbox. I don't know. Play with the dog. I heard a lot of you guys say you were out playing with the dog for like an hour. That's wonderful. So, and read. You, you can lose yourself in a book, and when you find that right book and you get to lose yourself in it, it's like magic. So, until tomorrow, I miss you. Have a good night. Good night, everyone.